definitely don't have a crystal ball. In fact, anyone who tells you they know the future is probably a charlatan. I think that's been true for a couple thousand years, for the record. But we do have some questions that help us figure out how to help companies worried about the future. Things like, what unique strategic asset do they have? Is it a brand people love? Is it, do they have a unique set of data? You know, what is it about them that makes them special, and how do we build on that? We ask a lot of questions about data, like what data do you have about your consumer? What is your relationship with your end user? Is it direct? Is it indirect? And then also, is your business model fit for the future, or do we have some foundational changes to make in terms of how you actually make money? So I think once you couple answers to those things with a group of people who are really curious and empathetic, you end up with like a band of transformers who can actually impact some businesses. That's a great question. So I'm going to start completely biased and go with a client of ours in Walmart. Like that, Walmart is a company that's done a lot of innovative work in the last 2 years because they were committed to it, and the proof is in the pudding in terms of the results. They went from being a company that Amazon was supposedly going to steamroll to the only company ever mentioned as a threat to Amazon. It's about as unsexy a brand as you can have, but very innovative in a lot of ways. I think a good way to find that list is to say, is this a company in a category that has a direct relationship with their consumer? So in automobiles, that's Tesla. In consumer packaged goods, which is generally an unsexy category, Honest brand. Honest is great in that it started direct to consumer and now is showing up in retail because it figured out how to get enough pull from its existing client base. So I think there's a lot of examples of them. They're not necessarily, quote, technology companies, but I would say all of them are data-driven companies. I'm going to just quickly get on my soapbox here for a second and I'd say the first thing, which we touched on this morning, is get fucking woke. Like the idea that, you think you can keep hiring the same people with the same backgrounds and you're going to do new things is false. I think most companies worth the salt are figuring that out. Because if you understand that creativity and innovation come from different backgrounds, by definition, you have to hire people from different backgrounds. And lo and behold, you'll end up having some ethnicity diversity and gender diversity, and a number of other things. So you can't expect to do something new while keeping all the people the same. So I start with that. Stepping off my soapbox, one of the things that I'm a believer in is I think that if you are a marketer and you spend all your time worried about advertising, then your view of the world is too myopic. And so by definition, you can't be successful because you've decided that you're only going to focus on this much of the potential of what your business could be. And so I'd say figure out how to diversify your outputs, and the best way to figure out how to diversify your outputs is to diversify your talent. Yeah, so although I appreciate the NBA analogy, I hate the LeBron James example because I think the answer to the LeBron James of problem solving is all of the Spurs, which are a bunch of guys whose names you don't know, even if you know their leader, who know their roles, who aren't territorial about what it is that they're supposed to be doing by their position versus another position, and they work together to creatively solve problems. So no matter who's in there, they find a way to win. And in this case, I think if you're a creative problem solver, I would first recommend not to try to be LeBron James, and instead try to find other creative problem solvers, and you'll probably put a bigger dent in the universe. But if there is one thing to aspire to that LeBron does well, is he plays any position on the floor. Great. That makes him absolutely fantastic. And if you have the patience and discipline to learn how to do a lot of different things, not just dabble in them, I think you can be a huge contributor to a team that's looking for someone who can stretch across just their core strength. Well, Tommy's dad, an experience design is basically someone who designs how you interact with the world around you. So if that's your phone, your TV, how you eat, what you think about buying, people like Tommy help us make those seamless positive experiences when they're good at their job. So hopefully when you look around the world at anything, you can think someone like Tommy could actually improve this experience in some way. And that's probably how Tommy's looking at the world around him. And that's what he went to school for. I can tell by your furrowed brow, Tommy's dad, that you don't know what I'm talking about still. So why don't we go with He's a doctor and he saved my life. Send more money now.